Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Dr. Laura Scow and Father Keith's favorite Advent and Christmas hymns. In this episode, Go Tell It on the Mountain and In the Bleak Midwinter.
To appreciate the history of Go Tell It on the Mountain, we need to begin with the inspiring story of the Fisk Jubilee Singers. Fisk University was the first African-American university founded in 1866, and its mission was to offer a liberal arts education to young men and women, irrespective of color. There's a lot of great things about that mission statement, but one of my favorites is "and women." Most of the students at Fisk University were former slaves, and at this time it was highly unusual for even a white woman to receive a university education. So it was a wonderful mission that Fisk University set out. Within a few years, however, of their opening, Fisk University was in dire financial straits. The music professor, who was also the university's treasurer, came up with an idea. He decided to create a 9-member choir and to take them on tour to earn money for the university. The first concerts of this choir, which were 8 singers and 1 piano player, featured classical music and were received mostly with hostility. So the discouraged singers decided rather that they would begin singing spirituals in their concert. Audiences had never heard spirituals before, and when the Fisk Jubilee Singers began singing them in concert, the audience's reception began to change. Rather than being received with hostility, they were received with praise and standing ovations. And the Fisk Jubilee Singers earned $40,000 for the university in those first few years of tours. The efforts and concerts of the Fisk Jubilee Singers sparked an interest and appreciation in African American spirituals. And thanks to their concerts and work in music editing, many of the spirituals we know and love today are attributed to their efforts. This particular spiritual, Go Tell It on the Mountain, is known to us through the work of John Work Jr. John Work Jr. was first a music student at Fisk University and then later on became a music professor there for 25 years. He and his brother were devoted to collecting, editing, and publishing African American slave songs and spirituals. Go Tell It on the Mountain was published in 1907. John Work's son recalled that when he was a child, the students at Fisk University began singing this before daybreak on Christmas morning, going from building to building. What a gift from the Fisk Jubilee Singers and John Work that we have this hymn to inspire us to go and tell the good news.
In the Bleak Midwinter. The text of this hymn was published as a poem called A Christmas Carol by Christina Rossetti in 1872. Rossetti's tender poem moves from depicting the Christmas scene in her home of England, surely the ground in Bethlehem was not frozen solid, to contrasting Jesus' first and second coming. And the third verse contrasts I'm going to start over. In the Bleak Midwinter. The text of this hymn was published as a poem, A Christmas Carol, by Christina Rossetti in 1872. Rossetti's tender poem moves from first depicting the Christmas scene in her home of England, surely the ground was not frozen hard as iron in Bethlehem, to contrasting Jesus' first and second coming. Then the third verse contrasts the otherworldly glory of the angels with Mary's motherly love and care. And the final verse invites us all to consider the best gift that we have to offer the infant Jesus, our hearts. The poem first appeared set to music in the English hymnal 1906 by the setting that we have, written by Gustav Holst, the same composer who wrote The Planets. His simple and quiet melody perfectly supports Rossetti's text, and Holst wrote this music just for this text. Listen in verse 1 to the way that the melody paints a picture of that gently falling snow near the end of that verse. Holst wrote in 1914, "Music isn't a thing of momentary thrills or even hourly ones. It is a condition of eternity." This carol surely embodies that thought.